Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Livewire Gaming Show. This week we are going to talk about our favourite protagonists and antagonists / heroes and villains across all forms of media, be that gaming, comic books, films and TV, whatever, books, whatever.
Your neighbour, the guy who stands across you at the bus stop every fucking day and takes the good seat at the corner window. That guy.
I mean, Dill's making this very personal. We're also going to talk about our gaming guilt trips, whatever that may mean. Different people have different things. I'm not going to look through your Steam library. Don't worry, Stephen. Anyway,
I've got one that it's gonna be like I can't do it anymore after I say what it is. I'm gonna be like,
I think we should just skip the heroes and villains and get to the juicy stuff.
Because then whenever I do it, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, we know what you're doing now." I'm just gonna be like, "Leave me alone."
It's when Dill hasn't got his loadout ready for doing Taniks Phase 2, even though we've been crashing on the ship for the last 3 minutes.
Does a loadout for that?
What have you guys been up to this week? Stephen, what have you been doing?
I have just been doing a lot of personal stuff at home. A few bits in the pipeline, so trying to get things lined up and ready to go. Trying to convince my wife to watch Batman vs Superman, so I can watch the Snyder Cut because I've never seen Justice League, so I might as well see it as intended.
Like, what a way to actually watch it for the first time as well.
I know,
4 hours long.
I'm really happy it's not in the cinema.
Yeah.
I would not survive that. Jesus Christ.
Sticking to the seats and everything.
Oh, the smells. So, in terms then of gaming, I've played a tiny bit of Immortals Phoenix Rising, but this week I've had a serious itch to go back to Bloodborne. So I've set up my stream again to try and do it and make it not as awful with the 30 frames per second, because it is really, really off-putting. It's so bad in Bloodborne.
It is.
But I've created my character. My character is called Kev G.
You might actually complete the game, so.
Hey, careful now. So, so I'm looking forward to maybe tipping away on that and trying to see what I can do, mess around with this new streaming kits that I bought for dirt cheap. And so that's been my week. What about you, Dill?
Nice.
How's your week been?
Yeah, I've had a pretty variety week in terms of gaming. I finished Phoenix Rising actually on that.
Phoenix
Great
has
ending.
risen.
Phoenix has definitely risen. Boss fight was class. Really good culmination to the story as well.
Is it good enough to include in your heroes and villains, though? Find out soon.
See, yeah, it's just your typical like protagonist. Like, just wants to. The main story is him freeing his brother from Stone and stuff like that. What else have I played? Played a good bit of Destiny. We gambited up a few times during the week, Kev.
We had a lot of games.
Had some fun doing that.
That is included in my gaming guilt trips, playing Gambit.
And actually enjoying it.
In fairness, we were 3 or 4 stacking for most of it, and it was actually a good time.
Such a different game.
Yeah.
Such a different game.
Like, we won most of the games because you end up playing against solo players most of the time. But yeah, just even when you do lose games or it goes badly, you just laugh it off because you're
blow it off. Yeah. What else? I've been digging myself further into the WoW hole that is never endless. And it's getting worse and worse, which means the game's getting better and better because I'm enjoying it. Playing some Valheim actually again.
Oh.
Jump back on.
Deals back on bullshit.
Back on my bullshit. No, just building and making like a little town rather than just like we were exploring the last time, doing our boss battles and stuff like that. Made it to the plains and the mountains, which basically it's like Australia. Everything wants to kill you. So kind of lost patience with that. Rage quit a few times. So yeah, just chilling in the meadows, Etsky's making a village. I have my little corner that I'm allowed to build in, and it doesn't get touched. But I played a good bit of things this week. Destiny actually was top of it for my enjoyment. Kev carried me through the presage mission yesterday.
We're not talking about that.
Died several times to bullshit.
We're not talking about that.
But yeah, now jumping back into the story, because I played catch up actually earlier on in the week on my. I was a couple of weeks behind on the seasonal story content, so got to catch up on that.
You were Steven's guinea pig for if you can catch up or not.
I tried and tested.
Apologies to Bungie from last week. Steven was wrong. You can in fact do it and catch up, but we're not allowed to apologize.
Now, the one thing that I didn't like was that if you have a fucking hammer proven rune in your hammer,
fucking annoying.
You can't. So each week when you log in, Stephen, you're getting basically go to the helm, do the battlegrounds. It'll say prime your hammer and proven to Catel or whatever the phrase is. If you have a rune in your hammer, it doesn't count that run. So you basically have to do a run, use your hammer, and then re-socket it.
Yeah, so if you socketed a hammer before weekly reset, or before you pick up the weekly quest, you have to use that hammer socket on the hammer to get a fresh one to progress the quest. Which is a bit dumb.
Bullshit.
Yeah. Now there is you do get to a point where you've unlocked the ability to socket different kinds of mods in the hammer, but unless you're in week 4 or 5, then it's a really annoying.
Yeah.
Because it's efficient if you have so you prime the hammer by using Cabal Gold, and by priming the hammer you can basically get one extra load of gold into the hammer and have it ready to go for an extra run, but it punishes you for doing that, which is kind of silly.
Can we put that into our greatest villains of all times, Luke Smith?
Have to do an extra Battlegrounds run. Those 10 minutes you'll never get back.
It's longer than 10, man.
15 minutes, yeah.
They feel like they go on forever. I just do my one a week. It's just a game mode I'm not really interested in playing. But however, that's been my week. Pretty good gaming week all around.
For you, Kev, how's your week been?
So I'll start at the beginning from last Thursday's podcast. We ran some trials on Friday night. That was highly successful. We got the cheater banned. Got notification of logging into Bungie. Yeah, thank you. We banned that fucking Harry Potter guy you were playing against last week, which was good. But yeah, we got our flawless, got our messenger adepts, and then trials got cancelled on Saturday. So that was a bit crap for this guy, because we were literally about to go play some games and they put out trials has been cancelled.
Literally an hour later, Stephen.
I was watching the Discord. I saw it happen.
It's frustrating, but you can't really blame Bungie for it. It's the community. No. So hopefully they can patch that and it can be running as normal, because it's a bit crap. Following on from that, I don't really know what I did over the weekend. That's a blur. Tuesday, Grandmaster Nightfalls were released, so I've been doing quite a lot of Grandmaster Nightfalls. I think I've done maybe 12, 15 of them already, and they're good. Finally, Grandmaster Nightfalls give rewards that are comparable to the challenge, the difficulty of the content. So it's enjoyable to run now, because you're getting good rewards at the end of it. You're getting an exotic nearly every run. You're getting an ascendant shard or 2 every single run. And you get the adept weapon. So I've been chasing a good adept swarm. And looking forward to Palindrome being in the loot pool next week, or 2 weeks' time. To get
a good
Palindrome adept. It'll be for Saber, yeah. Palindrome will be... No! Palindrome will be the new strikes week. So we're getting a new strike next week, a new Nightfall, the Battlegrounds strike.
All right.
So yeah, we're actually getting a new strike next week. So that'll be the Nightfall strike the following week, which means that it's going to be a nightmare figuring out how to do a new strike on Grandmaster difficulty to try get an adept Palindrome.
World's first.
World's first. World's latest. Other than that, we had an Among Us night last night in the Livewire Discord, where we played some modded Among Us, and that was it. That was
so much better. Much better.
Just having the 2 extra. So we only used 2 of the extra roles. I think there's like 12, 15 different roles there. Most of them are kind of meh, but the two we used, Jester, which means basically a fake imposter, where someone's trying to convince people they are the imposter even though they're not, and if they get kicked, they win. And we had a sheriff who is allowed to shoot anybody, but if they shoot someone who's not the imposter, they explode. But if they shoot the imposter, the crewmates win. And we had a couple of funny moments with Sheriff where basically the entire crewmate started chasing Dylan around the around the ship, and it was something kind of funny watching the imposter become the hunted. But yeah, that was a good time. It makes it a much better game because people get a bit pissed off in Among Us if like you've gone an hour or 2 hours without.
I get a bit pissed off.
Yeah, no, because doing the same anal tasks for 2 hours straight is kind of, you get bored doing it. But
I do it for 15 minutes, then you alt tab.
Yeah. But having different roles there, that it keeps people interested for longer, and it's funny. I'm looking forward to doing it again. And on Among Us, the new map is out on the 31st of March.
Oh, nice.
That was announced about an hour ago.
Wow.
So, other than that, Tuesday night, I was not well. So I logged into Destiny late Tuesday night and caught up on all the seasonal challenges. That was great. Not being well was not great, but I won't give you the gory details. Other than that, it's been GMs.
Good week
That's
overall, I think.
Yeah. We had a bank holiday yesterday, day off work, but didn't do a whole lot with that either. So.
Yeah. So shall we move on to heroes, villains, protagonists, antagonists?
Just Stephen, because you suggested it, we'll even let you go first.
Oh no, don't do that.
If you steal one of mine, Stephen, I'm just gonna say same.
So before we go, this is probably something we should have discussed before we started recording. What way are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do just one villain each, or one hero each, or one of each, or what way we do it?
I don't think it needs to be like as strict. Just go around, name who you want.
Will we go around one at a time, and you can pick hero? Like you.
Okay,
you
here's what we do, right? Whatever the previous person said, if the previous person said villain, you have to do a hero.
No, because if I want to talk about my villain first,
right, Dylan, you're going first because you've been a whiny little bitch about it.
It doesn't need to be so pedantic.
No, just tell us where we're going. Because let's be honest, like I know for me, I found it much easier picking villains because villains are more iconic than heroes. They're easier to pick. So I've got a big long list of villains. So we're just gonna talk about villains all night. Otherwise, I don't mind.
Go on, Bill. You go first, and then Kev. Whatever Kev does, I'll follow from that. I'll figure out his logic.
I'm gonna pick the one that you all know because I called dibs on it last week.
I actually don't know. I can't remember.
My villain is Gore, the God Butcher.
Oh yeah, you did call that.
Yeah. That is my pop culture comic book.
So Dill, for someone who hasn't a fucking clue who Gore is, talk to him about him to me.
Gore is a recently, I'd say, like 2013, 14.
Yeah, it was.
I'd say later than that. He's a fairly new villain to Marvel. Not preferably. Sorry, he was introduced in Thor, the series from Jason Aaron. I really enjoyed that series, and Gore stood out to me in that. I didn't even know he was a new villain until I looked into him more after. He's from an unknown planet of an unknown species. They worship the gods. They pray to the gods like Thor and Odin and all his brothers and sisters. All his friends and family and wife and kids get killed. He hates the gods. Everyone else still loves the gods. He becomes an outcast because of it. Finds out gods are real and they didn't help him. So he was like, do you know what? I'm going to kill all of you. So, yeah. He is
I think Sony Santa Monica might want to give Marvel a phone call.
Yeah. It's kind of a similar story, I suppose. But yeah, no, Gore. Like,
my name's not Kratos. My name is Gore.
His design is so good. He looks like such a like evil little fuck. Like he's a humanoid kind of snake looking or serpenty looking fucker. Yeah, and he's like he has symbiote powers, so he literally just has like a black kind of goop around him and impales people and just becomes a general god killer. And his only ambition is, I don't like gods. These are all dickheads. I want to kill all of you.
And can
That's
you
not
name
motive. That's not petty motive. I don't know what is. But yeah, no, I really like him, and
Sounds
he's
kind of
going
like
to
a Guardian.
now he's coming into Thor's next movie, Love and Thunder, and Christian Bale is going to be playing him as well, which is going to be
okay.
savage.
Now I know who Gore is.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite villains actually. So yeah, I'm just so excited to see him in another kind of platform, because he was so good in that series.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for the breakdown.
Gore's a dickhead. Gore's class.
Gore versus Thor. There will be lots of gore.
But I just love it because it's one of those stories that it's like, you know, the way with the most villains, there's like the potential for like redemption and stuff like that. This guy just hates gods. It's great.
That's on his business card. I just hate gods.
I just hate gods.
Yeah.
But even the story that he's been told in it's really good. It's done through like a time jumps as well. So you see like a young Thor who doesn't give a fuck about anything, and then you see old Thor who's met Gore a few times. Basically the premise is gods start disappearing, and Thor goes to investigate it and keeps coming across their dead bodies, and no one can kill a god. And yeah, it's like a detective thing at the start. Actually. It's very good. Thor meets himself as an old person in the end. It's very, very good.
Yeah. Sounds cool. I'm looking forward to Love and Thunder now. Yeah. Not that I wasn't looking forward to Love and Thunder already, because I think the Thor movies are actually pretty great.
Yeah, but I think especially for Marvel having a good villain as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially Ragnarok. Ragnarok was like top 5 of the Marvel movies. It was great. I still remember the Louise watching that in the cinema for the first time, like uncontrollably laughing at Get Help.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Right, I will pivot completely away from superheroes, and I will go with probably one of my favorite heroes, protagonists in any thing I've ever watched, and I think both of you also watched it. It's Walter Bishop from Fringe. Bet you weren't expecting that to come out too.
No.
Yeah.
No,
so,
I wasn't.
Like Walter Bishop as a character, he's just fantastic. Like he's this mad scientist.
Yeah.
Has been locked up in a mental institution for 20 whatever years after. I don't even remember actually the premise to it, but weird shit starts happening in Fringe, and they need to get him out to investigate. And his son's his only next of kin, and they had a fractured relationship. Spoiler alert! Lots of spoilers after that. Won't get into it because it's a whatever story. But basically, as it progresses, Walter is trying to make it. So basically, anything that went wrong in the story of Fringe, it can be traced back to something that Walter did, and he's trying to make up for the mistakes, the sins of his past as Fringe goes on. And yeah, he's just a lovable old man, and John Noble plays him fantastic. John Noble plays him brilliantly. This is John Noble who played Denethor in Lord of the Rings, who everybody despises, and then just to see him flip and be this lovable, funny, heartwarming character with a kind of dark past.
John Noble, I will say, is such a great actor. Have any of you seen Sleepy Hollow?
I haven't, no.
Not in a few years.
The TV show. He plays he plays a character in that, and he's just so good in a TV show that is somewhat underrated but kind of deserves the criticism it gets. He's a standout character in that, and
he's a standout in anything I've seen him in. He is a standout, and like in fairness, in Fringe, so full spoilers for the next 3 minutes after this. Now, if you haven't watched Fringe, skip forward a few minutes. I'll give a thumbs up when it's okay. A Tiago thumbs up.
We need something for audio listeners.
Cough twice, Stephen. So basically, in Fringe, there's parallel universes, universi. Basically, there's multiple universes in Fringe, and each character is playing multiple versions of the same character. So each actor's play. So you've got Walter in the main timeline, the main story. He's kind of a broken man, but he's still got a brilliant mind because of what happened with his son in the past. I won't get into that because it's full spoiler, but it basically drove him a bit mad. But in the alternate universe, in an alternate timeline, that Walter became the most powerful man in the world, basically. He became whatever the head of defense for America. So to see John Noble play two versions of the same man so brilliantly, so two very different versions of the same character, like the talent on show there is just incredible. And they all, in fairness to all the actors in Fringe, they're all like Anna Torv, Josh Jackson, all play multiple. No, not Josh Jackson, but they Vuv Zavala's in it. They play multiple versions of the same character. Yeah. Lance Reddick is fantastic as what's his name? Broyles.
He's the head of the department, isn't he?
Broyles, I think. Broyle. But he's brilliant in it. The scene where he gets high on LSD is just the funniest shit ever. But yeah, just the performances of all the actors in it is fantastic. But John Noble really stands out. And actually, while we're here, it's Dill that I have to thank for
the introduction.
I was in Dill's house one afternoon. He went, "You're watching this. Sit down," and I was hooked. Audio listeners, it's safe.
As if that's gonna
That's
work.
a good kind of different look on a hero, because like,
so I tried to look at it as in like protect the main characters, the main good characters of the story, rather than just straight up, he's got a cape and a shield and a hammer and it's saving the day. Kind of look at like,
Captain America doesn't have a cape, Kev. God's
he
sake.
does somewhere. He's got America's ass. He doesn't need a cape. The cape would just hide the ass.
You can pick up Mjolnir and the cape.
And that ass.
And that ass.
Steven, what's your... You get to pick now, because I picked the villain, Kev picked the hero, so you can pick like someone who's in the middle, just like made a few bad choices, kind of...
I didn't know we were doing grey characters.
Here, listen, I did not go into grey characters.
I wrote down, I'll be honest, I wrote down a couple of grey characters just in case.
This is why our podcasts are no less than 2 fucking hours.
Anyway, I'll go... So you went hero, I'll go villain. And I'm going to pick one that is quite recent, but really stood out to me for... Not for the villain that they are, but the character who played it. And it's going to be... I can't even remember how to say his name now, but it's Wilson Fisk from Daredevil on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
His portrayal of Wilson Fisk is probably one of the best portrayals of a superhero villain in a long time. The only one that has kind of matched it would be the Jokers by Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix. But they're on different spectrums of like they're crazy.
Literally different spectrums of the mental scale.
but this is a person who's, you know, a reasonable character, a very successful businessman who is evil for their own purposes rather than just being psychotic.
Yeah.
And the way is it DeMont? What's his name again? Tony DeMont? No,
it's Tony something, isn't it? It's a kind of Italian name.
Yeah.
You keep talking, I'll look it up.
He just has this like presence of him. He's such a big character.
He fills the room, and that's not a joke to his size.
And he's so soft spoken and big.
Vincent, not Tony. Vincent
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio.
Yeah,
Vincent D'Onofrio. That's the one. And like
Tony,
you look at him. I don't know where I got Tony.
I think there's a bit of xenophobia creeping in there. Tony Soprano did not cross over into the Marvel universe.
But that was his kind
Not
of
in this story.
Yeah, that was kind of like his persona in a way, wasn't it? That kind of mafia boss.
That's exactly it. And like, whenever I think of Kingpin in the, like, even if you think of the recent Spider-Man or even Into the Spider-Verse, like this lad who has never who skips legs day constantly and is just this
Screw from Despicable Me,
but on steroids, and he's always kind of this non-threatening because of his shape. You kind of go, oh, he's a bit but just everything about him was perfect in how he delivers his lines, to the relationship he has with Matthew as Daredevil, to even his relationship with Vanessa and the world as a whole in Daredevil. Like, Daredevil is one of my favorite TV superhero shows. It's just so well done. But the Wilson Fisk is probably one of my favorite TV show heroes.
There's been a lot of calls for Daredevil to come into the MCU, particularly in Spider-Man, and it's Kingpin who should be brought across,
and even Charlie Cox,
the same actor should play as well, because he was. I actually didn't even think of that, Stephen. That's an excellent choice.
Yeah, so that would be my first villain choice.
Very good. I'm just waiting for the first comment on social media, because we've all gone through a cycle and not picked one gaming related.
I'll be honest with you, and I have a point to make. I found it difficult picking gaming heroes, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that point because I've got a speech made up for it.
And on that note,
2 hours, here we come.
I'm gonna say the first gaming one, which it's multi.
Is it a hero or
multimedia? He's a grey.
It's a Gandalf.
No, the white was always better. No, I went with Geralt for my hero. I put him in the hero section.
He's a hero. He's a hero.
Yeah, he would be.
Gives off the whole, like, I just want to get paid. I just want to kill monsters. But deep down, he cares about
Dale's just like,
well-being.
Just want to kill gods. Just want to kill monsters. What's coming next, Dale?
Villain kill dogs. Watch.
If I ever like get in a lab accident and disappear for a while, you know I'm gonna be a villain then instead of a.
Dale's like, just want to kill content creators.
Yeah.
Shit.
Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean it's the only opinion out there.
Right, sorry, Geralt. Off you go.
Yeah, that was I really enjoyed his character, and do you know what? It was more so like in the game. Obviously, I haven't finished The Witcher 3. That was the only one I've played in the series. But
I thought you were gonna say you have.
It's not really a hero kind of character, but plays more so on the side of good. Like, every time you go to a new town, you're taking out the bad guys rather than starting fights with everybody. And I know you can do that by choice. You can go around GTA style killing people and being a dickhead and losing your what's it called when you kill too many civilians. But yeah, and then obviously in the TV show it gives him a bit more depth to his character and his goodness.
I'm really looking forward to season 2 of that.
Yeah. The arc with Ciri, he's like a father figure, which we haven't seen yet, but yeah. He was one of my good guys that kind of stood out. Just a big presence, kind of good dude.
Kev?
Trying to think what way I want to go with this. Do I want to do gaming or movie or what?
Whatever way you do go,
I'll go with a movie one. I'll go with a movie one, and it'll probably be a bit of a surprise again. But it's the most standout villain for me in my favorite series of all time, movie series that is, and it wouldn't be a nerd topic if we didn't touch on it. And it is from Lord of the Rings.
Here we go.
Not Sauron.
It's the Eagles.
It's Gollum.
It's the Eagles.
The Eagles. The character of Gollum. The character of Gollum as an antagonist in Lord of the Rings is expertly portrayed by Andy Serkis. And I'll touch on all this stuff before I get into the actual character side of it. The motion capture for it and the groundbreaking achievements that Andy Serkis achieved with mocap in the early 2000s has been used in everything now. But he's still the mocap guy.
Literally by Andy Serkis as well.
You need someone for mocap. Get Andy.
He fits in the suit.
Most of the time, I don't even think he wears a suit, to be honest. I think you just paint him in green and he just dances around. But like his performance as Gollum is just, it's fantastic. It's hilarious. It's pitiful. It's so many things all at once. But the character of Gollum, like what Gollum actually represents from Tolkien's side, is it represents the greed of humanity, the selfishness, and that's all portrayed because of his addiction and obsession with the ring. But it also, spoiler if you have never watched Lord of the Rings or anything like that, but it also, it's a representation of Frodo who is carrying the ring to destroy it. It's a kind of a forewarning of, if you don't destroy it, this is what you will become.
Yeah.
And he's a character, like, he's clearly a villain. He's there not to help Frodo and actually guide him to Mordor. He's just trying to get his fucking ring back. His precious. But it's a sign of, if Frodo is unsuccessful in his journey, that's what he will become if he becomes attached to the ring and addicted to the ring. And as Lord of the Rings progresses, Frodo does become addicted to the ring and starts to show some of the same characteristics of Gollum. But you also, while he is a villain, you pity him. So and it's actually touched upon in Two Towers? I think Two Towers, where Frodo asked Gandalf, why didn't... No, it's not Two Towers, it's in fucking Fellowship, sorry. Frodo asked Gandalf, well, why didn't Bilbo just kill him? Why didn't Bilbo save us all this fucking hassle and just kill the goddamn creature? And it's just, he felt sorry for him because he is this pitiful creature who has succumbed to addiction, to greed, to selfishness, and shows off a lot of the traits of many, many, many people in the world.
But I like that as well, when you have that kind of, for like inverted commas, villain, but you still have that kind of, the humanity is there, it's not him that's doing it, he's not possessed, but he's being influenced by something bigger.
Because even if you think of all the other figures that are corrupted by the ring, like the Nine, the Witch King, and like
Boromir.
They're all like very
just the presence
obvious,
of the ring.
They're all very obvious villains, so you kind of associate the ring as this all-powerful thing that corrupts you. But when you look at Gollum, you see that, well,
Stephen,
he was once...
Are you saying the ring is the real villain?
No, the real villain is Boromir.
Yeah.
Not even Boromir.
Sorry, continue. I could have crossed your point there. Sorry, I could have crossed your point there.
No, just it kind of puts a different spin on the couple hundred years that have passed since the Seal Door, where everything is set in stone, is like good.
100 years?
Sorry, thousands. Jesus.
What's behind that sealed door?
Where
man.
everything is very obviously bad or not bad, and then you've Gollum, which is this kind of long-term corruption, and that's a really great choice, I think.
Yeah, like he's not a villain, but he's an antagonist.
He's not an anti-hero.
He's not an anti-hero. He's there. He just wants the ring back. He doesn't care how he fucking gets it back. He just wants it back. But he's just this multi-tiered antagonist that is just everything he represents is everything that's fucking wrong with the human race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Race of men, yeah. The whole purpose of it, that they're corruptible, and yeah. No, that's a really good one.
Yeah, like, and I was thinking about it, and I wanted to talk about, obviously bring in Lord of the Rings somehow, because it's so iconic, whether you like it or not. Most people do. It's so iconic, And I was thinking about the villains in Lord of the Rings. You've obviously got Sauron, but Sauron isn't really there. It's the idea of Sauron is the frightening part. And Saruman, while he's a villain, and Christopher Lee is one of the greatest men to have ever fucking walked this planet, and a phenomenal actor, and just that booming voice is just it's excellent. He's a villain. When you say the word villain, it's Christopher Lee.
Yep.
But Saruman isn't a great villain. He's a pawn of the main villain. But the real antagonist that you see throughout most of Lord of the Rings is Gollum. And then you've also got Dill's back with another whiskey. And then you've got that relationship with the two hobbits that is excellent. He's trying to turn Frodo against his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sam. So yeah, I wanted to get that. I obviously I've looked at some of my choices from somewhere outside of the box here, and broken some rules, but
Well, I might break a rule myself, and I've just noticed in my villains, I've only 3 slots and 2 of them are from games.
oh,
so
by the way, sorry, Stephen. Before you move on, can we just say that the real Lord of the Rings was the river that it was in for all those years? The river held the ring longer than anyone else throughout the series. So the real Lord of the Rings is the river.
I never. Yeah, wow.
It's a meme. I saw it on Facebook the other day. I'm desperately trying to find it right now, but I can't find it.
That's an arc to go down. Like a lead balloon.
Sorry, go on. Gaming, whatever you were gonna say.
So no, I'm looking at my villains and I realized 2 of the 3 are from games, but fuck it, it's just the way it is. I have more, but I've only categorized top 3.
This is the raids all over again, isn't it?
Yeah.
I pick 3 and Kev picks 12.
So anyway, my second villain isn't necessarily a person, and by not necessarily, I mean it's a town. And it is the town of Silent Hill. So, for those of you who haven't played Silent Hill,
just sit back, kids. Here's an education.
So, Silent Hill is basically this town that will punish people for the sins of their past. So, in particular, in Silent Hill 2, you play as the protagonist, James Sunderland. And full spoilers, so if you haven't played it, and attempt to mute up now and come back in about 2 minutes.
Alright, see you later.
You missed your chance. You're here now. So James receives a letter from his dead wife saying, I'm recovering. I'll meet you at our special place in the hotel by the lake. And he's like, the fuck is this? My wife's dead. So, as any normal person would, you'd go to the place by the special lake. Of course. So, he goes to investigate it and he finds, there's zombies, monsters, a pyramid thing going around murdering people and raping other things, nurses with cleavage out, typical stuff you find in the town. Standard everyday activity. And as you go through, you find these people, and these people are also in Silent Hill, but they don't see the same monsters you do, and they see things represented in different ways. And as you go through their stories, you find that one person, Eddie in particular, sees monsters as humans, and what you find out is that he has actually murdered he has murdered people. He's a murderer, and he's being punished by seeing all these humans appear, and he keeps killing them over and over again. There's another girl, Angela, who doesn't see any of the monsters until towards the end, where she sees this figure in a gurney strapped down to the gurney with another figure lying over it. And you find out that she was raped by her dad and it subsequently killed her dad. You go to the hotel and you find a tape on a bed and it says Mary's tape, your wife. You put it in and you find out that Mary was suffering from, well, you're being told the story throughout that Mary's suffering from a lifelong illness. It becomes terminal, and it was her wish for you to end it. So you suffocate her, and in the years leading up to her death, you have these repressed sexual feelings, and you start looking at other women, which is why you start to see some of the nurses with cleavage hanging out and they have no faces, because you're starting to objectify women. You see this pyramid head thing raping other characters, and all the enemies have female shapes to them, and it's just this. And in each Silent Hill, there's a different reason why a character is experiencing these episodes. And in 1 and 3, they're connected, and it's a little bit more kind of godly. But in 2, the town of Silent Hill is the villain. You could argue James, the main character, is the villain, but really, the town is bringing him in, and it's punishing him for what he did. Actually, do you know what? You probably would say James is the villain, the town is the protagonist. But either way, it's just this. It's this thing where we always associate villains and antagonists with characters, but in this game, it's very clearly the town, the place. It's out to get you. It's here to punish you for some reason, and it's just a very interesting premise that isn't really touched upon in any other media, or hasn't really showed its face since then. Like it's kind of unique to Konami and Silent Hill. So that's my second villain.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a good guy or a bad guy. It's the what's it called? What's going on behind? Like, what's the reason for this happening? Like you said, it's not necessarily the guy; it's the town that's shown. Yeah.
What I want to know is how much LSD did the writer of that fucking take?
Like that's like as someone who doesn't like horrors, that's like I like that arc for a story.
Yeah.
Like, it is really intriguing and interesting, but it's just something that, because I don't like that side of storytelling, I don't.
Yeah, and even in one
it.
of the later ones, in Silent Hill Homecoming, there's a clever twist in it where the whole point is they sacrifice the firstborn of their family to the gods of Silent Hill to kind of keep everything in check. But unfortunately, you, the main character, who is the firstborn, ended up killing your brother by accident in a boat accident. And
it's always in a boat.
It's always in a boat.
It's in a boat.
And because of that, then the town and the gods subsequently are punishing everyone for the lack of the sacrifice. So it's great, and the monster designs in it, like whoever designed the monsters really did a great job, because the monsters will represent an aspect of the punishment or what has happened in their life. Like the final boss is a mother is a giant arachnid woman giving birth, and when you kill the boss, the monster gives birth to your dead brother, and that's when you realize what you've done is that you actually murdered your brother, and this is why all this shit is happening. Like, it's insane. And yes, how much LSD did they take?
Up.
Yeah.
I always wondered where the pyramid head came into play. Like, what's that for? Is that just...
So the pyramid head is a guard in Silent Hill, and he himself was a bad person. He would go around and molest and murder inmates, but he's there to antagonize James and bring him through his journey.
Okay.
So there's a part in it where you come across a woman called Maria, who is the spinning image of your wife, and you're like, well, what's going on here? But she's not your wife. And Pyramid Head's purpose is to kill her at every chance he gets.
Jesus.
So that you go through the process of seeing this person looks like your wife dying over and over again. So
he's not getting an invite to the wedding.
Anyway, moving on. I feel like that was very dark and heavy.
That took a very dark turn.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna have nightmares of spiders giving birth to people now tonight.
he actually will. That's the thing.
Like an angry
Bill doesn't
text
like
tomorrow
spiders.
now. I'm with you on that. Fuck spiders.
Yeah, especially giant ones. Right, am I up?
You're up.
I am going to announce a villain, and people will be happy to know it's related to gaming. People will be unhappy to know it's related to Destiny.
Oh
People will
no.
be happy to know that it's Oryx.
Yes.
Kind of
The
hard
Taken
not to
King.
include Oryx as
Yeah.
Destiny players.
Like he's just the big bad. The overarching bad from how long in Destiny 1? With the Hive and
It was 2 years.
2
Really.
years.
A year and a bit.
Yeah, after Taken
Yeah.
King.
Yeah, it's used the first
Yeah.
one, I think.
Oryx, and I think it's his storyline as well, like your introduction to him and him coming back as a fucking 60-foot mountain to try
He's just a big Biffy
send you to
Clyro
the
fan, alright?
ascendant realm. I don't know that reference, but I'm just gonna laugh. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just really like him. From his design to his story to you killed my son, I'm just gonna come here and do it myself.
That's basically what it was. He was there
Yeah.
for revenge.
We probably never would have met him if it wasn't for. Obviously, the story leads to it, but if we didn't kill Crota, like obviously that's his only reasoning for coming to hunt us down. Jumps on his dreadnought and he's like, "Fuck you guys,
Fuck
these
these
little
guys.
shits."
It's something that wasn't really explored in game back in the day in Destiny. It wasn't. They weren't very good at exploring it back then. It was kind of told through Grimoire cards. But like, what makes Oryx incredible character villain? He's just a villain. Straight up villain.
He's a villain.
He's doing what he thinks is. Yeah. But like his whole backstory that's explored in the Book of Sorrows is like that. There's so much lore and backstory for a video game. It's crazy when you think. Like,
Yeah.
there's as much lore and backstory for Destiny now as there is in a Tolkien's world, or in Game of Thrones, in the Song of Ice and Fire, or any of these. There's as much lore for Destiny. Like the fact that they create all of this to support a video game is just—it's ridiculous.
And that it's not in the game. Like,
And it's not in the
now
they
now
are
in the
starting
game.
to, and I think that's where like Keitel, if you're enjoying the story this season or not, the way they're exploring Keitel as a character is brilliant because it's in game and we're learning so much about this character and about the ways of the Cabal, really, that it's like that we had Oryx and we had all this backstory that was in the Book of Sorrows and in the lore and the Grimoire cards that wasn't really explored in game. But what we got in game was still this.
Yeah, substantial.
Yeah, he was just a big motherfucker
Big
of a
daddy.
villain that was coming to take everything.
Especially as a villain, like when we're getting our bad guys or our seasonal enemies nowadays, I feel that's their lifespan is the season. Like, unfortunately, Keitel will probably die at the end of the season, and it won't have a big implication. Well, if they're going down that route would be great, because then she could turn into a big bad down the road. Like, this could just be her introduction rather than here's her for 3 months and then that's it. Whereas with Oryx, it's just like it's an overarching, like, he's solidified as being a villain.
We still haven't really left the Oryx story yet either behind, because we've got Savathûn to deal with now, and they've been building up Savathûn for the last 3 years. Since the last Wish, they've been building Savathûn, and we're probably not going to meet. We're probably not even going to meet Savathûn for another year.
But like, to me, that just like makes it that much better. Like, I know it's the whole, like, you can hype something up so much and then if it's delivered wrong, it's obviously horrible. But Savathûn hasn't even been delivered to us yet, and just the presence that her name has when it comes to big bads, I feel like Oryx was the catalyst for that.
Like, you look at Oryx's backstory, like, he was like, the Hive were nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they were nothing. And Oryx went to the hive god,
Deep.
not the worm gods. And no, I'm getting that wrong. They went to
No,
the darkness,
go-
the deep, into the deep, yeah.
Yeah.
And basically went, yeah, we give us power, and they fed them the worms and blah blah blah, and they became king of the hive, and the hive became a powerful race because of that.
Yeah.
Very
And then we got
even
taken
way-
as a part of that as well.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing of what I liked about Oryx is that he introduced a new, not really a new enemy, because they were just reskins with more annoying abilities. But it was that idea of like, this was something different. This is a character who could take what we have been fighting for the last
Yeah.
year.
You can't take it. You can't take an ogre. No one can take an ogre unless it's taken.
And yeah,
It's
like
gonna go.
That was a voice line from the Taken
I
King.
know.
Nobody can
I
take an
remember.
ogre unless it's taken.
But yeah, like I really think that's a good one. And the death of Oryx has spurred on a lot of what has happened in the Destiny universe.
Yeah, and especially when I feel a character like that is what's the phrase? Like he's lived on in a raid. Like he's solidified in our
Still in my
main
gun. What are you on
story.
about?
Oh my
He's
God.
in my
Still there.
fucking P1.
It's not. Your gun got blown the fuck up when the Cabal invaded the fucking tower.
No, because I couldn't connect my PSN account.
It's
to
right
the-
here.
Plugged out your Ethernet cable that day.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But that's another fascinating thing about it. That like he wanted us to kill him because
Him
he
and
will
Riven had a
become
little buddy
more
buddy pact.
powerful. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Speaking of that, apparently one of the lore tabs somewhere in recent times suggests that an Ahamkara may have infiltrated the last city.
Oh, I know about that. Yeah.
I do not know. I'm a week
It-
behind.
it's gonna be very interesting
About
to
6
see
months.
okay.
to see how they deliver
Never mind.
Savathûn, because they've been building Savathûn up for 3-4 years, longer even, like since the Taken King
Well,
drop,
since
really.
Taken,
Since
yeah.
Taken King, when we saw the statues of his sisters, but like, yeah, it's.
Once she has the same shape
I'm
head,
nervous, but
I'll
I'm
be happy.
excited. We don't know what Savathûn is. Like
Yeah. I
we
think
don't know what
her-
she's gonna be.
Her look is going to be just as important as how it's delivered.
We don't know
It's gonna
what
be like
Savathûn
Korra.
is. So. It's what?
It's like Korra. That's how she comes back and has purpose.
It's gonna be a
That's
giant
the
spider
Korra.
giving birth to your brother.
Don't
But
take it.
really, it's a little Oryx and a little Crota because he killed both of them.
Anyway, Cade's dead.
But yeah, that's
Any
my.
days since we talked
other
about
villain.
Destiny.
It was always like we were always going to touch on it, and it was always going to be Oryx got touched on, because he is the iconic villain of
Hashtag me too.
of Destiny. He's the iconic villain of Destiny so far.
Yeah, to me, he's the villain of D1. Like
Yeah.
I know everything else
He is, he
you
is.
have, but
Yeah,
No,
he
he is.
was.
like even Atheon
Yeah.
or Atheon or whatever doesn't have that same presence. I don't feel compared to
No.
Oryx.
It was because of the way it was delivered as well. Like Atheon was the raid boss. But like the villain for D1 was the heart of the darkness in the Black
The
Garden.
Black Garden, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Oryx was obviously touched on in the story when you went to the Shrine of Oryx. Like, it's communicated with something out in the darkness, at the edge of the solar system. That's my Peter Dinklage impression. It was crap, and I know it was. Funny story about Oryx. If you watch the Destiny 1 reveal back at E3 in 2013, one of the player characters is Oryx _BNG.
Oryx. Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
My turn, I guess.
Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog. Is he a hero or villain, though?
He's grey.
In the comments below. What did I do? I did a movie and I did a TV character. I will... Difficult. It's difficult.
Delay the podcast by another 40 minutes.
Right. I'll go with...
got houses to build.
I'll go with another villain because villains are far more interesting than heroes.
So much more interesting.
They're just so much more interesting. I'll go with a quite recent one, and I think there's different kinds of villains. You've got the ones that are just fucking crazy for the sake of being crazy, and they're just bad for the sake of being bad. But I think the best villains are ones that you can kind of relate to and kind of go, you know what? I get it. They're wrong and they're bad and they shouldn't kill all these people, but I get it. And I think what was achieved over the 10 or 11 years and 20 odd, 23, 24 movies was incredible. But it all was so successful because the big bad was so relatable, and it's Thanos. And Josh Brolin's Thanos in the MCU in the Infinity Saga is just
Class.
he must be one of the most iconic villains ever, because you were watching it. Yeah, he killed half of all living beings in the solar system on the planet. Yeah, it's wrong because a lot of people died, but he's not really wrong.
He makes sense.
He
In
makes
that conversation
sense.
he has with Tony,
Yeah,
he explains himself really well.
yeah, because it's like even in the world we live in, like the world is overpopulated. I'm not gonna get dark about it. The world is overpopulated.
Kev's justifying his means for when he gets a gauntlet.
I'm keeping him out of the lab.
Yeah, we're all gonna fucking go on a lab tour together.
No, we're fucking not.
It's
getting you all back.
it's not sustainable. Climate change is already causing all sorts of harm because there's too many people on the world, and it's just not possible. And off you go. Anyway,
Oh, that feels so good, Mr. Kev.
Put them in at 240 for 10 minutes.
It's because I sniped you. Anyway, like, yeah, he's relatable as a character because, well,
Because he's right.
he's kind of right.
But that's the whole someone who's been teased for X amount of years and is delivered perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the only reception was good. Like,
and I think that's why a lot of people really prefer, like, a lot of people prefer Infinity War to Endgame. I prefer Endgame just because it was just the best cinema experience since Lord of the Rings. Oh, we're back on that again. But Infinity War was basically, here's Thanos' biopic. Enjoy it.
yeah.
And it just built
Thanos
up his
becoming.
it built up his whole character. It built up that character, and it gave you why he's doing it, what he's doing, why he believes so stubbornly in it. Stubbornly is not the right word, but it's the word coming to my mind. He believes so forcefully in what he's doing, and he kind of brings you around to his point, to a point.
Yeah.
And then you watched Endgame, and within 20 minutes,
Hang on a minute.
it's time for Dill to show something off.
It's time for me to show.
Look at that.
Nice.
Look at that.
That's class.
You should have gone for the head.
No.
I will jump in and say I don't agree with the
Snapping the fingers and eradicating half the planet? What?
I don't agree with his justification. I will say it is the strongest an MCU villain has had, and he does a very good job. Like, I perfectly understand why he has that, because they did a really good job at developing the character.
Yeah.
You see his backstory, you understand why he comes to that conclusion. I like, there's no convincing me like that. It's a bad take.
No, it is. No,
It is the
he's
ultimate bad
absolutely
take.
he's absolutely wrong in what he did, because you can't just kill half the fucking planet of all living beings. You just can't do it. It is wrong, but he brings you around to a point where you kind of go, "Yeah, I get it. I don't agree with it."
Yeah, I don't get to that point. Like, I don't get I get it. That doesn't happen for me. But what I really enjoy about how the Russo brothers did it was that they give you a sense of, if I was that character and I had gone through that pain, and lived that experience, I question, would I have come out with a different view? And as the character of Thanos, I don't think I would have. And I think
This
that's
is why
they do a really
Stephen
good
is a
job at.
doctor and we aren't. Because he phrased
Oh,
what I
God.
was trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And it's spot on.
To quote a small village in Hot Fuzz, for the greater good.
Do you know what? I wanted to get Hot Fuzz in as some of my heroes, but I couldn't find a reason
Nicholas
to get them
Angel.
in. I just couldn't find a reason to say that they are heroes. Or villains.
I mean,
for
they
that matter.
save a pub. I
They
don't
save
know.
a pub, yeah, there we go. Even
To me,
in COVID
nobody can
times,
save a
they
pub
are
from
heroes.
COVID.
Like, I know one of my first villain was an out and out villain, but I love those villains that you can, like you were saying, if that experience happened to you, would you have the same outlook at the end of it? Which is going to spiral into one of my choices. and
Look
that's
at the
Anakin
segue.
Skywalker. Segues. Anakin Skywalker. Like
Segue over me, yeah? Fuck you.
it was an honorable mention, so I'm just gonna literally stand on it for another minute.
I am shocked.
Like
Well, Stephen,
Nothing-
you get two choices.
you get two choices. The segue lined itself up. I'm sorry.
It did.
So, Dylan, are you
Um,
talking about Anakin Skywalker as a hero or a villain? You're gonna have
See,
to be
that's the
specific
thing.
here.
It's in between. Like it's from. It is like he does nothing out of selfishness in Revenge of the Sith. Everything is to save Padme.
But is that in itself not a selfish act?
But I don't think he wants to. Yeah, it's to me. It's always a gray area because I'm like, holy shit! If that was me, I'd want to do all I could to prolong my partner's life, especially a pregnant partner. But just the whole giving himself over to the dark side to be like, do what you want with me. Just promise you'll be able to save Padme.
So, are you saying that Darth Vader is not a villain?
No, I'm saying Anakin Skywalker isn't a villain. Darth Vader is because he's gone past the point of corruption, but then he comes back. But it's like I was saying earlier on. Every time you watch Revenge of the Sith, you're just waiting for him to not do it. But it's the whole.
And then he kills kids, and then you go, "Oh, he bad."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the whole.
It was at this moment you realized he bad.
Like it's the effect that the ring had on Gollum. That's to me. It was the same that the dark side had the effect on him. He was corrupted. It wasn't his choice.
Yeah.
He's doing someone else's bidding.
In a way,
for the betterment of somebody else.
In a way, it's Star Wars and it's all about prophecy, and he is fulfilling the prophecy.
Yeah.
In a very long,
Long-winded
roundabout
prophecy.
way. Yeah. And apparently, Leia was the actual chosen one, but that's a story for another trilogy.
That's about a tread and a half.
No, that's something that Lucas has actually said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That Leia was the chosen one at the end of the day. But yeah.
So it was even longer-winded prophecy then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it wasn't just Harry or Neville.
He starts off as a hero, ends up as a villain. I think it's one of my favorite. I don't want to keep saying the word arc, but my favorite kind of.
It's a spiral.
Story.
Give you a different shape. It's a spiral, not an arc.
Yeah.
Right, just Stephen. Before we give you your two choices, I did have Darth Vader on my list. No, I'm not gonna get into it.
I see your segue and I raise you. You're not going.
But like, it wouldn't be a heroes and villains discussion if Darth Vader wasn't mentioned. And instead of going away and coming back to it, Darth Vader is the iconic sci-fi villain. Straight up.
Oh yeah,
he's the iconic sci-fi villain. Yeah, he comes back to the good side at the end of Return, but like Darth Vader is just.
When you think villain,
he's Oryx with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't call her Snips anymore. Definitely.
But yeah, like Vader was that.
Steven gets that reference.
And, like, if you could go back to one time in sci-fi history with a time machine, you'd go to Empire to see to sit in a cinema and just watch
Yeah.
people react to "I Am Your Father," because that would have been fucking great.
Yeah.
It would have been the inverse of picking up Mjolnir and like, I knew it. It would have been instead of the whole yeah, it would have been like, oh. Yeah, it would've been great. And I just don't think you'll ever get a reaction like that anymore from anything ever in cinema, because we expect that was totally just out of the dark. Like no one ever okay, people expected it obviously because they're not idiots, but most people would not have expected that curveball, and it would have been great to be in the cinema because back then it wasn't the way the internet is nowadays. Like it just you didn't have access to fucking everything at your fingertips. So I would have loved to have been in the cinema for that. But Stephen, sorry, you get 2 choices. Off you go.
Well, I'm gonna finish off my villain. I'm gonna finish off my villain.
And that's us for today, folks.
Are we the real baddies here, Dylan?
Yeah. So I'll finish off my villains, but I'm not going to spend an amount of time talking about this one. But back in 1997,
definitely gonna need another drink for this.
This villain wasn't around, so don't be worried about it. No, so if you were on Twitter today, you would have seen Viper and I talking about Final Fantasy villains. And
I really enjoyed that back and forward, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I actually, when he said his villain, I was like, oh my god, that's a good choice. But this is the thing. So in Final Fantasy, you've got a lot of characters, a lot of backstories, a lot of lore, a lot of heroes and villains. You have your protagonist and the antagonist. But the one that has stood out to me, and it's only recently, is the antagonist of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. And the reason I won't go into it too much is because I do want the two of you to play it.
It's the microtransactions, isn't it?
It's microtransactions. It's server maintenance.
That's the real villain all along.
It's actually life. Life is the villain. It gets in the way. No, so the character is called Emmett Selk.
Okay.
But I really do want the two of you to play this, or at least Kev anyway. But the character is so well done, has such an amazing story to them, and it's not your typical like, oh, you're just the villain and we're going to just attack you. Like the villain interacts with you, like you talk with them. There's these kind of like parlay moments where you can talk to them, get a bit of a reprieve. They give you story, you give them story, and how it all culminates, and even in the post main scenario, how that continues is some of the best storytelling I've ever experienced. And to have that be in a villain's scenario is just amazing. So I really do want you to get around to playing it at some stage. There are some great villains in Final Fantasy, like one of the clear ones would be Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Viper's was Kaios Ballad from Final Fantasy 13-2. Like there's loads of them, but there's very few that are relatable. And Emmett Selk is one of the few who is a genuinely relatable person. Even outside of it being a video game, you can relate. It's like the Thanos idea. They have a reason. You relate to it. You can see their side of the story. And it ultimately leads to, like, if you were in this situation doing the same thing, would you see the world differently? And it's really well done, and how that kicks off for other things. So that's my last villain.
Just before you move on to your other choice, I think we did actually, as part of the announcement that it's recording day, we actually did put out the question of who are other people's favorite heroes and villains, and you mentioned Threaded Viper had a couple of mentions for you, his villain being Kaios Ballad from FF13-2. So I'll do a quick breakdown of that. So it's a man gifted with eternal life. He's the watcher over time and a guardian to a Force-Year Yule. The catch is that every time the timeline changes, Kaios has to see Yule die. I hope I'm not butchering any names. So
Nope.
you see him die, be reborn as a new person, and die again before he gets to the age of 16. So Kaios chooses to fight those that want to twist the timelines and being about ending time and space itself. He succeeds in doing it with the most jaw-dropping ending to an FF game that he's seen. Liam O'Brien, hope I didn't butcher the name, does an amazing job voice acting Kaios. And Kaios destroying time and space means he gets to save Yule from dying. So he's a villain again for a justifiable reason. His hero,
And
very... Sorry, Stephen, yeah?
no, just to even add another element to that, one of the protagonists you play as is called Noel. He is also trying to save Yule because he believes he's a protector of a different Yule. But he only experiences it from when she goes up to 16 and dies and doesn't understand why. And then that brings in this whole new element of the time travel system and who Kaios is and who Yule is. And it is a really well crafted story.
Okay, and then just to touch on it, his hero was very obvious. If you know Chris at all, it's Solid Snake. I did have Solid Snake on my list but Viper covered it way better than I could. He's a man who tolerates being used, lied to, manipulated, betrayed, yet he still chooses to fight for the betterment of humanity, to right the wrongs of his family, and to teach others that they can also fight for things they believe in. We did get another answer from Chaotix. His villains for gaming was Handsome Jack from the Borderlands series. His favorite hero was Jaden Yuki from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You nerd.
I always hear so much about Handsome Jack, and I want to play through Borderlands so much because of it. Because his kids are the antagonists in Borderlands 3, isn't it? Isn't Handsome Jack's
kids?
What are they called?
Yeah, I know who you're on about.
I'm not a Borderlands fan, so I'm out of this conversation.
I think so. I
haven't played
anyway,
it. So.
his
probably
favorite
completely wrong, but yeah.
His favorite gaming hero. If Chaotix, if Dylan's wrong, tell him. Thanks. His favorite gaming hero was Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, which is out in May. Anyway, Stephen, your second choice. Off you go.
So
thank you for answering that question. Appreciate it.
I will stick with the Final Fantasy genre, and my hero is a controversial choice because it wasn't Cloud Strife, even though I really did wanted to pick Cloud. So for Deal, that's 1997, just in case you're wondering.
I wasn't listening to anything in the last 30 seconds. I was completely wrong. It's not their dad. But there's a cool story if you want to explore that in an alternate universe.
Deal writing fucking fan fiction for Borderlands.
Oh god. So my hero is Noctis Lucis Kaium from Final Fantasy 15. So the reason why, Kev, you haven't played 15 yet, have you?
I have played some of 15. I think a Destiny expansion came out or something.
Which always happens.
Back to it?
Huh?
Are you gonna go back to it?
I am gonna go back to it, yes. I don't know whether to go back to it on PC.
We give Stephen two choices, and his second choice cannot be spoken upon because Kev's gonna go back to it.
Okay, the reason I haven't continued to play it is over on this side of the room, you're gonna get a podcast exclusive of this all looks nice and tidy. And over here, it's not so tidy. So I'm planning on putting in a little nice TV unit and getting a nice OLED TV, the plunk there, so I can run a HDMI 2.0 from my PC the whole way around and sit here nice and chill playing single player games looking that way. So that's why I'm kind of pushing stuff off because like I don't really want to be.
You want to experience it the way you want to experience it. Yeah.
Controller player on PCs, but I could play it on my PS5 because Final Fantasy 15 is free on PS5 if you have a PS Plus account.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. Talk about Noctis.
Deafen yourself for a second. Deafen yourself. Do it.
I can't deafen myself because if I deafen myself, the podcast gets deafened.
Take that off. So the reason why Noctis is my favorite of the Final Fantasy heroes is because of his tragic story. So he grows up to be the heir apparent to, or the crown prince to the throne. The invading nation takes over, kills his dad while he's trying to go out and get married. So the story takes off with you trying to go and get married, and the main villain, who ends up being your long lost or you're a descendant of your family,
Okay.
traps you in a crystal for several years. I think it might be 17 years or something. You come back and the world is in chaos. Your friends are, fighting the last battle that they can, and you come back, and in your time in the crystal, you realize what you have to do. So you go to fight Arden, the main villain, and the only way to beat him is to sacrifice your life.
Okay.
And it's just such a climatic event to the story where you play it with, so if you don't know, you play it with 3 AI partners, and you build this amazing relationship with each and every one of them. And building up to it, like there's this final fight, and you get all these great intimate moments with them, and then you go to fight the final boss on your own, and you have to die to win, but your friends never know what happens, so they just see that the
Okay.
sky becomes bright again and things are all okay, and then they kind of put two and two together and they go, oh, okay, he's gone, we don't know what's happened. So they
Yeah.
haven't seen him in like 10 years or more, and then playing Pokemon, and you come back for all of like an hour, save the world, and then you're gone. And it's that, like, because Noctis is an arrogant bastard at the start, and
Yeah.
it's a transformation from that to someone who makes the ultimate selfless act for the world.
So seeing
And
his kind of personal redemption arc, then, yeah.
kind of, yeah, and it's just even the way that they set it up, like it's really well done. And even actually at the end of it, like Final Fantasy is known for having its logos, and in the logos they always give a kind of a hint to the end or to the main narrative of the story. But in this one, what they did was they actually hid the main logo until you complete the game. And when you
Okay.
complete the game, it's the girl you're supposed to marry who dies, and then Noctis appears behind her. So
Okay.
it's supposed to be a symbolization that the two of them are dead, looking after the crystal, which is the world.
Yeah.
So it's this whole like, oh wow, like you just weren't expecting any of this stuff, and it's really well done. And as a character, you go from an arrogant, kind of angsty teenager to someone who ultimately makes the sacrifice to save the world, but at the cost of their life, rather than just, oh, I saved the world and everything's okay again.
Yeah. It had more implications than just you're sacrificing yourself, and the fact that nobody knows about it as well, like that kind of gives it more meaning.
It's just really well done. I'm gonna
What was
bring
that,
Kev back
15?
in.
Was it
15? I'm gonna bring him back in so he can talk now. But that's 15. Yeah, it's a really
actually,
good
to be honest, that story, that the way you described that is enough to kind of steer me to give it a go.
It's on Game Pass, so if you have Xbox Game Pass,
I do have Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah, look, absolutely play it. It's
I'm pretty sure it was free on
controller.
PS Plus at one point.
It was. I actually, Dale, it's on my account.
Dale, if you add the PS Plus games to your library every month, you might have it already.
I don't do it every month, to be honest.
Dale, it's on my account, so you can use that.
Calls himself a gamer.
But if you've Game Pass for PC, get it on PC.
Did you actually, speaking of Game Pass, Mr. Steven Doctor, did you see that Nier Automata?
Yes.
It's a different version to the Steam version.
Yeah.
So the Xbox Game Pass version works.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
It's insane.
Do you know what? I'm going to give that a go, Stephen.
The only thing with FF15, the gameplay is not as tight as 7. It was kind of the beta for 7. It's a bit more of an open world than 7 is, though. It's an open world.
Okay.
If you I'll send you the links to mods if you want to download a few mods for it as well.
To be honest, I think I'd rather play that on console because I can see it as something that I'd play on the couch.
Dill, here's me. I'm gonna tell you, don't play it with M&K. You don't use M&K. Mouse and keyboard.
I do.
The keybinds for FF15.
Shocking, are they?
I looked at them.
So bad.
I looked at them and went, nope.
Completely like unconventional.
Oh, they're so bad. So bad. Anyway, whose turn is it? Is it mine or Dill's?
Either.
Dill jumped ahead of the queue, little bitch. Go on, Dill, you can go.
Yeah, I think. Go on.
I only have, I have 2 honorable mentions, and these are the last 2 on my list.
Haha, Kev, take over.
My first one, purely from an emotional journey that he embarks on.
Here's where Steven leaves the call.
Yeah, basically. This is the emotional journey that was Joel's journey in The Last of Us.
My God.
Yeah.
You know what, Louise, before you go into it, Louise actually did suggest, she's like, what about the guy from The Last of Us? And I was like, he's not really a hero.
No.
Sorry, go on, Dill.
Yeah, like it's obviously whatever way you look at it, but to me, being a protagonist in the story alongside Ellie, it was the whole seeing your daughter die at the start of it, and then trying to safely escort another girl around the same age, and being the father figure, and realizing what the eventuality of what you're doing would mean to. I'm just trying to beat around the bush because I don't want to spoil it. To said character that you're kind of.
I know what happened. If you're not trying to spoil it.
That your kind of maternal instinct kicks in. Or paternal instinct, sorry.
Wait, when did that happen in The Last of Us 2? I haven't seen that part yet.
Yeah, The Last of Us 2 now.
Your paternal instinct kicks in as a... Yeah,
you know what they're saying, that one of
the
guys in work is actually going on leave next week, and I says, oh, when does your maternity leave start? And he's like, my maternity leave? I was like... Yeah, like when is your wife? I went, oh no, you're not giving birth, your wife is. I was like, when is your paternity leave starting?
Yeah, so just if you've played it, you understand the emotional journey that you go on. It's very good, very good, and especially as someone who he cannot stand at the start and sees it as such a hindrance to be doing this in the first place. It was great.
One thing about The Last of Us characters, and it's not the hijack it, but they're not really, I wouldn't see them as heroes. That's why I haven't included them, any of it, because they're not really heroes or villains. They're just people trying to do what they can to survive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get he is the main protagonist of it. That they're just doing what they can do to survive, apart from Abby, who is doing what she's doing to get revenge.
Punching her way through shit.
Anyway.
Yeah. And that was my first of my honorable mentions, and then the second one was Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
Trying to relight the fire on the Jedi race. Not race, Jedi.
Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah, that was a great story. I loved his journey, especially getting on Ilum.
Not the end of it.
No, exactly. His whole personal journey with his kyber crystal as well was really good.
I really hope it's not the end of it. I want another.
He was such a good character.
Another Star Wars game from Respawn. They did a great job. They really did.
I'd like to see him lived on in live action as well.
Or that.
And especially as Cameron Monaghan done the mocap and stuff like that. It'd be great to see him.
You know what's funny? I always get Cameron Monaghan confused with the ginger guy from Riverdale. I think I spoke with this. I always just get them confused. They're the same. They might
it's like me with Waterford and Wexford.
I don't watch Riverdale, for full disclosure. I just get the two of them confused.
Only someone who watched Riverdale would say that.
Riverdale's so fucking bad.
Such a Riverdale fan. I can see the pop vinyl behind you.
There's a lot of mentions of rivers and lakes on this podcast.
by you.
no, I loved.
This is-
I just loved the story of
No, it was
Fallen
brilliant.
Order. From working on his freighter with his buddy that has an untimely death,
Spoilers.
to being on the run for the majority of his childhood from the Empire and the Inquisitors. Yeah, it was really good.
Right.
The villain in that's with the sister as well. Second sister? Is that what she called?
The
Ninth.
Is that the second sister or the ninth sister?
Yeah, they're a very good villain as well.
Yeah.
That game was so good I bought it again after finishing it. I played it on fucking Origin Access.
Oh yeah.
Completed it and went, you know what? They deserve Respawn deserved my money.
Yeah.
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 I really
Very
funny enough though, I tweeted literally about 6 months before that game was announced. Been like,
Yeah.
give me Dark Souls with lightsabers, please. And then they gave it to me, so it was great. I was happy. It wasn't
Which could segue into the guilt trips and guilty things that you do.
No,
because
some will still have heroes
Somebody-
to talk about.
Dill,
I know. I'm
Dill
saying
must have,
if we
Dill
did
must have a
get it
pizza
going.
on the way.
Yeah.
I'd love if somebody ordered me a pizza right now.
Man, I want to get a Chinese takeaway, but I also don't want to get a Chinese takeaway.
Where did you get the takeaway from on Tuesday?
Same one I always get it from for the last 15 years. So
That's what
it's
makes
very
it worse.
sad that I don't want to go to
Greatest
where I
villains of
go
all
to for
time.
the last 15
Yeah.
years anymore.
Haiwan Palace.
Yeah, it's gutting, man. Fucking gutted.
Literally.
But you know what? Like, I've heard of people getting poisoned from there before, and yeah, you hear about it. Yeah, it's always been fine for me, but once it happens
Yeah.
to you, it's
You have that kind of little apprehension.
I
then.
still feel crap. I honestly still feel crap. Anyway, Stephen, I've got
26 more.
I've got a bunch here.
I've got
I'm not
two
gonna go
of
through all
my
of them.
heroes left, but
Yeah,
I've like famous or honorable mentions.
like I'll do like one or two more, one of each maybe, and then just honorable mention the rest of them.
There's my last honorable mention because I can't comment on it because I haven't finished it yet.
Fair enough. William King or Illidan?
Illidan Stormrage.
Books.
Books.
Anakin
I
Let's
actually
just
have
say
a few in mind from
Backwards.
books. Right. I'll touch on a gaming something. I found it really difficult to come up with a gaming hero when thinking about this. And I think it's because in most games, well, all games, you are the protagonist. You may be controlling another character and they're leading the story, whatever. But you're seeing the world through their eyes, and you are the protagonist in a way. Especially in RPGs or in Destiny, it is literally your character. Now you've got games that are story driven with characters. You've got like Master Chief, which I'm not gonna mention because I didn't play Halo. You've got Kratos, Nathan Drake, Joel. But I think the reason I found it hard to actually think of an actual gaming hero that I loved, because I haven't played Halo or Mass Effect, so I didn't have those experience, is because when I play games, I'm the hero in a weird way. So that's what I think. But if I was to touch on my favorite maybe gaming hero protagonist, probably Kratos. Especially, I haven't actually finished the new God of War.
You loved the original God of Wars, though.
Yeah,
that whole series.
Like I loved God of War 1, 2, 3, Ascension, all of them. The PSP games, the Vita games, they're all fantastic games. Even though it was that over the shoulder, and when they reinvented God of War for the 2018 game, like they did an incredible job. Like it's unrecognizable, really, apart from the main character and the killing gods just in a different place, boy. But yeah, Kratos, like he's, as you said, he's like he watched his family get slaughtered by the gods and then decided, you know what, I'm gonna go kill me some gods, and set out along a journey to kill his big puppy, Zeus. That was a great boss fight in God of War 3. It was so fucking difficult. But yeah, Kratos would probably be my one. My favorite gaming protagonist would probably be Kratos.
And like, I think the majority of people prefer the protagonists when they're like dickheads in a way.
Yeah.
And like they don't necessarily have that kind of personality where it's like, yeah, let's go do this. Let's just end what's going on, or let's set out on this mission and do what we have to do. It's more so
We're not goody
like
two shoes.
I could not give a shit about what we're doing, but I will eventually.
Like I think about if you think about the PlayStation, like we're all PlayStation players here, really. And you've got the story-driven PlayStation games, but the protagonists in them, like Aloy is a very good protagonist, he's whatever, but it's the story that drives those games.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you look at the Halo ones from back in the day, it's Master Chief is the drive. He's the godlike character. You've even got in Doom, you've got the Doom Slayer, or whatever Slayer. I don't play Doom quite clearly. And even in Gears of War, you have whatever that dude's name was.
Your man with the bandana.
Huh?
Is that him?
Marcus Phoenix.
Marcus Phoenix, that's the one. But the
Marcus
one
Phoenix
standout PlayStation protagonist, he's not a hero because he just kills everything. But Kratos, yeah, I loved
I like that.
I loved those all God of War games. They were great.
It's not necessarily the character, exactly like you said, Kev. It's how they're portrayed and how they're told. Like you could have a character that does nothing, but it's how their story is told that turns them into something. You know, makes them memorable. Like Aloy or Alloy, whatever you want to call her. I never finished it purely because I got bored halfway through it.
Yeah,
but nothing kind of stuck out to me as her as a hero character herself, you know.
God, I should have put the villain in that one in. That was a great villain, Ted Farrow.
in HCD.
Horizon. Yeah.
But like
That's
that on
great.
paper, there's nothing I could say
Siri
bad
start
about
talking
it.
to me.
But yeah, you know the way sometimes when you play a game in a certain frame, frame of mind, it's a different experience to if you play it
Yeah.
at a different time.
I think about like Nathan Drake's, like they're great games, but Nathan Drake as a character is a bit fucking annoying. And even
He's
like
ridiculous.
another one, actually I won't say it just in case I steal Steven's one. So the only other one I can think of.
You won't.
Okay, so the only other one that I could really kind of
In
think of
1997.
from gaming heroes is maybe Ezio. Ezio is a great character for
Auditory.
Yeah.
the Assassin's
true,
Creed 2 trilogy. Yeah.
I like that.
Go ahead,
It's
Steve.
hard. It's hard to kind of. I feel it's hard to talk about heroes.
He's over here
Like-
on that one.
Oh, me. Yeah, it's hard to kind of expand on heroes because they're just your typical good guy. You're like, there's no big.
We all have our favorite superheroes.
Yeah,
Like, and everyone has different superheroes for different reasons. But yeah,
Game
gaming heroes I found
bland.
really difficult
Yeah.
to pull one. It was weird.
They can be quite bland because the whole idea is to make you feel like the hero.
like
You know-
our Destiny player has been through more as a hero than the majority of story-driven campaigns.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, everybody's Destiny Guardian, we're all the same Guardian. Think about that.
So,
However,
really,
I
the
do have
next
a
hero-
Destiny-related joke for you. What's a Fallen's favorite meal of the day? Brig fast.
Oh my god.
Stephen, I'm gonna go in and get another drink. Do you want that?
Yeah. Can you get me new ears after that fucking joke?
Stephen, before you just go on
Yeah.
to your one, I have a quick point to make about another gaming hero. Because I love the character. They're really pure character, and I'm really excited to see where the future goes. They had really great abilities, and they were really fun to play as, and I'm really looking forward to the end goal, especially their relationship with another hero from the same game, and that's Aerith. I'm really excited to see where her story goes.
I know she does.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to put a meme in there somewhere.
I was like, he's definitely on about Final Fantasy. I was like, which way is he going with this?
I had to put
Yeah.
a meme in.
Yeah, I know
need
she
it.
does.
I had a
Yeah.
few memes to pull from, and that's the one I'm going with. My other one was that they really sunk their teeth into the role, and and that's the shark from Jaws 2.
Oh wow.
It's a different film. It's a different shark. Sorry.
The biggest villain has to be the envoys that are captains in Gambit.
Yeah.
That's just end the show right there.
Right, go on, Stephen. Quickly, we do need to start wrapping this up a little bit, though.
Yeah.
Go on, Stephen.
No, I'm gonna my last two heroes. So superhero hero, favorite always has been, always will be. It's Superman.
Okay.
Just
Who's your favorite superhero, though?
Thor.
Mine's
Who's
Captain
yours,
America,
Kev?
probably.
just for his ass.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy with a shield.
He's just a guy from Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's just a guy from Brooklyn who tries to do the right thing, and he's a magnificent beard, which I do not have.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Stephen.
No, so just Superman. He's the classic goody two shoes. America's pride. And
Can we cue his music over this as well? That would be great.
But
Editor, get on it. Editor, do it. Put it in here, editor.
But equally, considering how overpowered he is one of DC's ultimate villains. So when he goes bad, shit hits the fan. And
yeah,
I love that
collateral damage.
I love that about the character, that he's so uncorruptible that when he gets corrupted, it's very hard for him to distinguish that he has gone beyond the point of no return. And I think in the Injustice games, they do that really well.
Yeah.
And so Superman for me, not just because he's a good guy, but because he is one of the worst villains in the DC universe. And the last one, so this one, I don't think any of you will know this one, but the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I was talking about it probably in our first podcast. The first trilogy focuses on a group of rebels who try to overthrow an emperor. In book 1, they achieve that. In book 2, it's about holding the empire. In book 3, it's about the big bad Rune, who is a god that is coming to destroy the world. And the hero of the first one is known as Kelsier, who trains up this other hero called Vane. Vane is the hero from 2 and 3, and Vane is this amazing Mistborn person who can do all these fantastic tricks, kills the emperor, and is set out to kill the god. But the hero of that story to me is the god's yin. So the god that's trying to kill everyone is called Rune. But the god that is there to save everyone is called Preservation. And Preservation has lost its power. And through the whole book, you're figuring out, well, like, what's, we have Rune, which is the bad guy. What's the opposite to this? And the whole story revolves around these people called Mistings or Mistborn, who can ingest elements, such as steel, iron, what else? Atium. There's a few things that they have. Copper is another one, and they get abilities from them. And just throughout the whole story, the writer drops in these little hints about things that are happening. So the Scad are called, so the oppressed race are afraid to go out into the mist because the mist can kill you. And some of these people won't die from the mist, but what they'll do is they'll snap, which means they become a Misting or a Mistborn, so they can use one of these elements or all of them. And it's not until the final book where it's told through like a history perspective that you find out that actually...
Please don't spoil it, actually, because I'm going to look.
Okay.
I Googled that, and I'm just briefly reading that. It sounds great.
Okay, take your headset off, because I don't think Kev will
Yeah.
I might. It's like, oh, man.
for fuck's sake.
No, you're fine. Go on.
So
Go on.
Go on. So it turns out that Preservation knew what would happen with Rune, that Rune would become more powerful and that Rune would escape its prison and be able to destroy the world. So in that, Preservation has built systems to alert people to what its ultimate goal was to tackle ruin, and the mist was one of them. So the mist, it turns out the mist will kill like 1 in 13 people, or it will infect 1 in 13 people. And they're like, oh, why is this happening? And there are 13 metals that people can burn, and then it's eventually copped on that they say, well, actually, the mist isn't trying to kill them; it's trying to snap the people so that they can become Mistborn, so they can rise up and fight the god Ruin. And it's just so well done, because up until this point, which is like the last chapter of the book, they're losing this battle. The world is about to be destroyed, and it's only through one of the other characters that you kind of cop what the fuck is going on. And it's so well done, and that the hero of the story isn't actually the people we've been following, but a god who has died a long time ago, who set all of this in motion to protect them. And it's just really well done.
I'm gonna
So
spoil it for him when he comes back.
yeah, we'll bring him back in now.
So
I just went onto Amazon. It's available on Kindle for €1. I am buying that right now, and I'm gonna.
So which
start
one are you
reading it.
buying? All right, because there's 6
Final Empire.
That's
The
perfect.
first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know it was supposed to be made into a game as well?
Really?
In 2013, it was announced, and then in 2017, it was cancelled.
It would be like,
Was it EA?
No, Little Orbit, I think it was.
it would be a very good game when you read it. The
Yeah,
mechanics in
Little
it, just yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You've sold that to me as well. Jesus, Stephen, you should be fucking head of marketing for some people, because you sold me on Final Fantasy 15 and Silent Hill. I want to know more about the story,
And
even though I hate
Stephen,
horror shit.
I've been trying to
And
get him
now-
to read something for years. I'm gonna text you what it is, and you're gonna explain it to him.
What is it?
I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Right.
Yeah. You
Is
have a
this my
really
Is this
good
my
way
last
of
one?
explaining
Then?
things.
Yeah,
He
go
has,
for
in
it.
fairness. Is this my last one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, Stephen, are you going to list out your villains that you've left out, or are you just not going to talk about them at all?
I'll list them out quickly.
Okay. So I'll list out mine quickly then as well. So the heroes that I'm not going to get to are Luke Skywalker. Come on, we all want to be Luke Skywalker. Dolores from Westworld is fantastic.
Oh,
Is a fantastic protagonist. She's a fucking badass. No spoilers. I hope it goes somewhere in season 4, because she's a fantastic character. But I'm excited to see what happens there. One that I kind of threw at the end is Walt White from Breaking Bad. He's protagonist. But he kind of becomes a villain by the end of it. But he's a villain you're rooting for. It's kind of weird, but he's a really Bryan Cranston's portrayal of Walt White is it's legendary. It's just incredibly well done. And then I had Aragorn thrown on the list as well, but I covered Gollum,
Nice.
so I won't go back to Lord of the Rings. But again, Vigo is just the embodied Aragorn, even though he was literally he was the last one really that came on board, because originally
it was a last minute decision, wasn't
yeah,
it?
Peter Jackson wanted what's his name? Gladiator.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. He wanted fucking Russell Crowe as Aragorn. Russell Crowe said, a fantasy movie? Get out of here. So they literally flew Vigo to New Zealand and filmed the Weathertop scene and went, yeah, he's great. So yeah.
Yeah, because he had to fly the next day or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Vigo, if I watched the Reunited Apart with Josh Gad and Lord of the Rings, it's fucking excellent. If you haven't watched it, it's just the most heartwarming 45-50 minutes you'll ever watch. But Vigo was hemming and hawing about it. He's like, here he goes. But Vigo was like, I don't know if I'll take it, meh. And his son went, Dad, you're fucking taking that role. So yeah, and the rest is history. So I'll finish up on a hero for my in-depth one, but the villains that I've listed here: Darth Maul, because he's my favorite villain in Star Wars. I love Darth Maul. He's over here. Heath Ledger's Joker. Joker in general. Like he's
Yeah.
just a psycho. Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just hated him. Like some villains you relate to, some villains are crazy, some villains are this. Joffrey was just there to be a spiteful. Yeah. I'll see you next Thursday. Yeah, he was just there for you to hate him. And he's just like, when you think of Joffrey, like if you mention Joffrey to a Game of Thrones fan, they go, "Oh, that fucker." Red from Pokemon Red and Blue. Gone all the way back. David Robert Jones from Fringe. He was an excellent villain, and I can't think of the guy who plays his name is just a fantastic villain.
Oh, it's tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I can't think of it. He's in Carnival Row, which is a good program. Watch that shit.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in
whatever. Expanse as well.
Yes, I just can't think of his name. He's a great actor. He just has that villain face. Voldemort, because Voldemort's great.
Ralph Fiennes is fucking
Ralph
savage.
Fiennes, yeah, he's just sarcastic. Yeah, like you find yourself laughing along with him sometimes just because he's just so sadistic. Scaramanga from James Bond, who again, Christopher Lee is just the villain. And
Jared
Lord
Harris.
That's the one, Harris, yeah. And Lord Loss from the Darren Shan books.
Yeah.
Was a great villain. So I won't get in depth in that one. It's demons. He's the Lord of the Demons, and yeah.
He's the devil, basically.
He's the devil, basically. But it's great. And he's very good at chess. But
very good at chess.
the last one I'm settling on is a hero. It's a protagonist. And it's the protagonist from the first, I don't know how many, but the first 3 or 4 Horus Heresy books from the Warhammer 40k series. It's Garviel Loken. Garviel Loken was a space marine, part of the Luna Wolves, Sons of Horus. Eventually they became the Black Legion. But Horus, I don't know if you know anything about Warhammer, Stephen. Basically, There was the Emperor. The Emperor made these really strong children and dispersed them across the galaxy, and then sent out Space Marines to find them, and they were the leaders of all the Space Marine armies, basically. Horus was his favorite son. He was the most powerful of the leaders, the Primarchs. Not to be confused with the shop that sells clothes. So Horus betrayed the Emperor of Earth, of Terra, and it's got the Horus Heresy. He went over to Chaos. He succumbed to Chaos and became bad. Garviel Loken was one of his 4, I can't think of the name of them, but one of his most trusted advisors. But Loken was loyal to the Emperor to a fault, and it's a big story, blah blah blah. But when Horus betrayed the Emperor, Loken was one of the main loyalists that fought against Horus, and eventually they bombarded the planet, and he was thought to be dead. He wasn't, but it goes on and on and on. This is where my memory of it gets foggy. But I read those books when I was younger. They were difficult enough to read because I was young enough, and they're written for adults. But I love reading from his point of view. He was a great character, and I won't butcher everything because I can't really. I tried to read up on it again to refresh my memory earlier.
Yeah.
I enjoyed reading of him as a character, and then they killed him, but they didn't kill him. You just don't find that out until like 15 books later.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, I started reading the Horus Heresy books. It's like, oh, these are great. And then, like, I'm pretty sure they're still writing them. And I haven't been into Warhammer in 13 years. And I'm pretty sure they're still releasing 3 or 4 of them each year. So, yeah. But Loken was my favorite one back then.
Jesus.
And on the flip of that was Abaddon, the spoiler. He was Horus's right-hand man. And Abaddon and Loken had a fight to the death, basically, and then they bombarded the planet. But yeah, Abaddon's still out there. So
yeah, there's no need to go through mine. You've covered a good few of mine. There's 1, 2, okay, there's 3 that I would have had, but just very quickly, Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, the Netflix reboot. I've never I've never hated an actress more than I've hated the actress
Is
who
that
plays
the woman who? Oh, I watched nearly all the first season of that, and I fucking hated it. But is she the one that's pretending the whole
Yeah.
time? Yeah.
She's
She was
Dr.
so
Smith.
annoying.
She's not Dr.
Yeah.
Smith. But I really loved it, but her character, the way she plays it, made me hate her, but hate her so
Yeah.
much that I associated, like Joppy, I associated the actor with the character, and I was like, I fucking hate this person.
Jack Gleason, like
Yeah.
his portrayal of Joffrey was just, you're a horrible fucking man, aren't you? But he's really not.
No, he's not.
I'm
so
sure
then
he's not. I'm sure he's lovely.
I bumped into him once. He's nice.
There's a chance I'm related to him, but yeah, distant relations.
Don't say
My
it too
my
loud.
grandmother's name, it comes from the Gleason
Baratheon.
side.
The last two then come from.
Baratheon.
the last
Yes,
two
my
come from,
grandmother is Robert Baratheon.
Nice. Betsy Baratheon. No, the
Come
last
on,
two-
Steven! Get it out!
last two are from anime. So Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan, who
Ah,
is-
Aaron. Yeah,
Oh, you know him, yeah? Have you caught up with it?
I watched for 1.5 seasons.
Okay, I won't say anything about it. But
Don't.
Eren Yeager, if you know, you know. And Ken Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul.
Barbie's husband. Sorry.
Yes, I actually think this is Mo's avatar in
Oh,
Discord.
it could
I'm
be.
not sure.
Yeah, could be.
But Ken Kaneki is also another one. So that's mine. Yeah.
Nice.
Very good.
I also need to piss. I'm gonna go for a very quick piss.
Before you go, just quickly, do we want to do gaming guilt trips, or do we want to leave them for next week? Because we're at
I
an
think we
hour.
can do it.
We're at an hour 50 minutes.
Ooh.
I have quite a few of them, so
Yeah.
I'd
Do you want to
prefer
leave them and do them next week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Have we
probably
said
better.
this? That we do this for 3 weeks in a row and not done it? Yet?
Probably, yeah.
Someone just has to start taking notes.
It also gives me a chance to actually think them up properly because I haven't really taught them in depth. I've got a few, but I really want to talk about it. So we'll do that next week. Promise. Maybe.
Possibly.
There was some news this week, just while we're here quickly, but while Stephen's struggling. Stephen, go to the toilet. You're making me nervous.
Yes.
I don't have it prepared on Twitter, so I won't bring anything up. Game Pass got a whole lot better because now you have all these EA games on it. Outriders is also coming to Game Pass, but only for console. I was watching the Square Enix announcements today, but I had to leave.
Yeah.
I had to leave halfway through it, so I haven't finished that yet.
Project Atia is now called Forspoken.
Ooh.
And it looks so good. They've branded it as the action adventure game. They showcased a very short cutscene, a very out of context cutscene.
Was there a release date?
2022. I didn't see anything specific, but it basically showed the main actress in kind of normal present day clothes in a kind of
That
past
looks stunning. I'm just watching the
past
trailer
kind
here.
of
That looks stunning.
setting. Yeah, it looks really, really well done.
It looks
So
beautiful.
it's
and
obviously
and
still
it's also on PC.
PS5 and PC. And it's
Very
obviously very early if they're not showing a lot, so I'm happy that they've shown us what they've shown. But that to me, that's an automatic tick.
And if you're still interested in it, I think Black Panther is coming to the Avengers game. If you're interested in that. I can't think of any other news that was out this week. Sony announced a bunch of free games that are coming through this play at home thing. If you haven't played it, Horizon Zero Dawn will be free without PS Plus. You just need to have an internet connection. You don't even need a PlayStation. You can just log in on a mobile or on your fucking browser and add it to your library and then play it whenever you get a PlayStation. Any news, Stephen, that you picked up on this week that we may have missed?
No. Did you mentioned about Game Pass getting more games that are Bethesda? No, there was a Square Enix presentation.
Yeah, we
today.
chatted about
I
that quickly.
Didn't see what came up. So
Project Athia has a actual title now and looks stunning. Go watch the trailer, basically.
Sweet.
So yeah. So I think that's us for this week. We of course went overtime because we like to do that. But look, I don't really care. I like going overtime.
Dill
next-
looks so happy.
So next week we will have a main topic that will not take an hour and 50 minutes, and we will do.
And that's going to be our only topic next week. No
we'll do
subtopics.
We will do our game.
Nothing.
We haven't done a subtopic 2 weeks in a row because we're getting
Because our main topic is fucking 3 hours long.
And I will eventually play The Last of Us 2 again and finish it. Promise, maybe not really. If anyone wants to get carried through a Grandmaster Nightfall, don't ask me.
Sounds good. Any guilds out there want to hire a max level warrior who obviously does not know his way around raids yet? Hit me up.
And if anyone wants to get into the Final Fantasy 14 scene, you have a free trial up to level 60. I will run anyone through it. I love that game.
Yeah, I do want to play that, and I've said it several times. But before we close out, I love how Steven has set up his PlayStation and his Nintendo Switch above his monitors just to make sure they fit in. I'm waiting for a mini fridge or an actual Xbox console to sit in the middle of that.
Actually, the one thing that isn't in the photo is I have a whiskey glass set of the Avengers. Deirdre got as a wedding gift for me.
Ooh.
And it is just the Avengers symbol in red with a black...
You're not allowed to open it, though.
I've already taken all the glasses out and set them up with the decanter, but the actual box is up here above me. So where the two speakers are, the box is there between them.
Nice.
Right. So, your job, you can close it off, whoever decides to do it. From me, thank you for checking in. Thank you for listening to us talk. Sorry if I pissed you off with any of my outlandish statements.
I'm not sorry at all. But thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you stuck to the end. If you did, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. And we will see you next week, hopefully. Have a great week and see you soon.
Play loads of games. Enjoy. On controller or M&K, whichever you want.
Or with a Sony Banana. That was announced.
Bye.
PSVR got new controllers. Bye!
Bye!